Dad, why are your nails so sharp? I thought you were old.
What do you mean?
Since the camping trip in the woods, there are scratch marks everywhere. On the sofa, on the bed.
I'm a human, not a cat. I wouldn't do that.
Also, my stuff has been showing up with a lot of red liquid stains lately. I don't even know where they came from.
Since that camping trip, do you remember doing anything dangerous?
That night, I went deep into the forest while you were sleeping, and there was a monkey. It looked very human-like, but was covered in fur. I was so scared that I threw a lot of stones at it.
OMG. Do you remember what the monkey's eyes looked like? Tell me.
Actually, its eyes were dark red, staring right at me, which was quite scary.
Daughter, quickly check your jacket and pants pockets.
Dad, there's a lot of fur here. I don't know where it came from. What? There's a face with a wide open mouth looking at me through the window.
Go down to the basement. There's a gun on the left side. Grab it.
But Dad, I don't know how to use a gun.
Just hold it tightly. Do not let go. I've called the police for you.
But what's going on, Dad? Is it because I threw the stones?
I'll explain everything later. For now, stay silent and inform me of any situation immediately.
I think I hear the sound of 4 feet walking above. Dad, come back quickly. I'm scared.
The police will be there in 18 seconds. Just shoot.
Oh my God.
You can now check part 2 by pressing share then more.
I'm alone and you hear a knock, don't answer the door. That was my grandmother's one rule when she left me the family house. I thought it was just the rantings of an old woman. I didn't know how real the rule was until the other night. The house I inherited was deep in the forest, far from bustling city noises. Silence was the unspoken language here, except sometimes you would hear the owls. But the other night when I was sitting in the living room reading a book, that's when I heard it. There was a single knock at the front door. And then I remembered my grandmother's warning. If you're home alone and you hear one knock, don't answer the door. I looked over at my grandfather clock in the corner. It was midnight. I told myself that the knock was just a figment of my imagination. It was just the house settling, or a fallen branch against the door. But then it came again, a single solitary knock. But this time it sounded closer. I was panicking. I just stood there staring at the door. The third knock was so loud that it made the door rattle. There was no more denying it. Something was at the door.
There was a woman named Mary who had a 19-month-old baby girl. She loved her baby deeply and couldn't wait for her to say her first words. One night when Mary was cooking dinner, her husband called her out into the living room. He told her that their daughter was trying to say something. Mary was so excited and watched her daughter try and say something. After the baby mumbled for a bit, she said, "Mommy dies." Mary looked at her husband in complete confusion, thinking she heard the baby wrong. But by the confused look on his face too, he heard the same exact thing. Mary and her husband then laughed it off and went on with their night. The next morning, when Mary was on her way to work, she got into a fatal car accident. She was then rushed to the hospital where her husband and daughter were waiting for her. When Mary's husband and her daughter found out the room Mary was in, they went in. Her husband was devastated and didn't know what to do. He couldn't imagine living life without his wife. But suddenly, Mary's daughter pointed at her and said, "Mommy dies." Seconds later, Mary's heartbeat stopped as she died from her injuries from the car crash.
What I'm about to show you is the photo Katrina Whalen captured on her Ring camera the other night. So Katrina lives alone down a long country road in West Texas. And 3 nights ago, she invited a friend over for dinner at 7 p.m. But 7 rolls around and her friend's not there. And then 8 rolls around and her friend is still not there. And that's when Katrina starts to hear footsteps outside. Slow at first, but then it starts to sound like someone is running full speed at her house. Thinking it's her friend, she goes to open the door, but no one is there. So Katrina calls her friend, but then when the other line picks up, it's just heavy breathing. And then laughing. She's really freaked out now, so she runs upstairs, but that's when she gets the notification that someone is at her front door. And this was that someone. Katrina is still alive to tell the tale, but there's been an uptick in Reddit users complaining in West Texas of hearing someone outside and then answering the door to see no one is there.
If you want to hear something scary, don't scroll. I'm a professional cleaner and I clean clinics at night. And the story that I'm about to tell you is something that happened to me at this very clinic right here. So, setting the scene, it's late. I do the clinics at night, in the middle of the night, usually 12 to 6 a.m. So I was literally just going about my normal routine like I'm doing right now, taking the trashes, wiping things down. So yeah, I'm just going about my normal routine, whatever, and I heard something. Sounded like a voice, which I've heard voices before in the clinic. I've heard footsteps, I've heard and seen doors shut. I've heard and seen doors shut. I've heard footsteps walking behind me. I felt breath on my neck. but this one was different because the voice was my voice. That's not it. I was literally like, no, fuck no, hell no, nah, 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 nah. So I ignored it. I turned the volume up louder on my headphones and I kept fucking going. I kept working. I was like, no, I have to get this job done no matter what anyway. So even if I do hear something, it's a one-way street, you know? And so about like another 20 minutes go by and I hear it again, louder, down the hall, like from where I was. I'll even show you where it was. So I was cleaning this area and I heard it down this way, which is I was right over there. It was like right down here. And since this is like a contracted job and I need to make sure that I'm safe and that the people who are coming in the morning are safe, I did a little walkthrough to make sure that nobody was actually in here, like a fucking weirdo. Even though, like, if there was somebody in here, I don't even know what I would have done. I have fucking trash bags as my weapon. I don't know though, has anybody else ever heard their own voice when they're by themselves? I mean, I've experienced a lot of scary shit, and like that was probably the only thing that has made me ever stop in my tracks while cleaning. Like, I had my headphones on, I stopped mopping, like I had the mop in my hand like a deer in headlights, like listening to see if something would make the sound again. But I definitely heard my own voice say hey 2 times to me. I heard my own voice say hey to myself, like, no, I'm sorry, no. Every single day that I'm in here, I have this really eerie feeling like I'm being watched and followed and stuff. But that day particularly, when I heard that, it was just like, it was so heavy in here, I couldn't even like breathe. It felt like I was breathing in through fog, and like I just felt heavy, and like something was definitely watching me, following me, breathing down my neck, and like literally just watching my every move that day. And yeah, no, it was a fucking no for me. I'm talking about it in a humorous tone right now because I'm literally in the same building that it happened to me in, and I'm not even close to being done cleaning. So I gotta be here for another like hour or two, and that is also a big no for me, but I have to do it anyway because my bank account.
This is a story on why I'm never reading my emails ever again. Okay, but before I start, keep in mind that this was way before, like, when we got our manager and everything. Okay, so it all started on a random Saturday morning, and this was, like, very, very strange because the day before, like, I got, like, the email, I was literally doing some, like, research on how to get verified on TikTok because, like, we have 4 million followers. And literally the next morning, which is Saturday, I got an email saying, like, to apply to get verified. And this sounds, like, very, very stupid because, like, why would you get an email? I wasn't even thinking, like, why would you get an email saying to apply to get verified? And the thing that sounds even more stupid is that they emailed the email that's on our TikTok bio. Like, they didn't even email the one that's connected to the TikTok account. So basically, they didn't email the one that was connected to the account. They emailed the one that's on my bio, which is very stupid because TikTok wouldn't do that. Anyway, long story short, they sent me a link and I clicked on it, and that is literally what got me because the link had a countdown. So when I clicked on it, I was gonna like in my mind, I was thinking, wait, I need to make sure that this email is like clear and like make sure that it says like tiktok.com or something. It was asking for my email, my phone number, and then it asked me for the verification code. I didn't even think, but that verification code that they asked for was to get into the TikTok account. The verification code was supposed to be for me to like get the verification badge, but little did I know it was for them to access my TikTok account. As soon as I gave them the code, like I knew I messed up because I was getting notification saying that I got logged out of like, I logged out of 2 accounts, right? Yeah. Or was it 1? It was 1. Bro, I was literally like shaking. Like I got my iPad, I got Alicia's phone, I got my phone, and I was like looking on everything and making sure that my account was still on it. And when I went on it, you do not know, like my heart literally dropped. Like they had my account and I was logged out of it. My Alicia's phone was logged out of it and the iPad was logged out of it. So I logged in and it said login expired, and once I saw that, like I knew like no, like I got hacked. You guys do not understand, like everything happened so fast. It was literally so scary. So we both got logged out of the account, and all of a sudden they changed the bio to felony volunteer. I'm gonna pop up like what it said. Our account was literally up for 20 minutes, like or 15, probably less, And all of a sudden, the account was gone. Like, it deleted, no username or nothing. It had no profile picture. Okay, so after the account was, like, deleted, we got an email from the same email that hacked us. It basically said, if you want your account back, then you have to text me on WhatsApp. So we got that email, like, we were not gonna answer it at all. Like, there's no way. It took us, like exactly a month to get the account back, but TikTok was very helpful. They literally locked the account, and they were answering us, like, every 2 days, or like they would answer us like the next day, and they were so helpful. We just left it in God's hands. We were going with the flow. We were emailing TikTok back and forth. They were answering, and all of a sudden we get an email saying that your account has been back up. When we got that email, that was such a relief. Like, we had this account for 3 years, and like we thought this was gonna go to waste, but we trusted in God and we got it back. Forgot to mention that they did take some money from our account, but it wasn't much. And this literally smells like yogurt. I want to eat it so bad. Anyways, let us know if you guys want more story times.
Scary story time while I make water slime because y'all are nosy. I have no reason to lie about this. This happened when I was like in the 3rd or 4th grade, y'all. 3rd or 4th grade. 3rd or 4th grade. You already know. Get your money's worth. This is lotion. We're gonna call this man a silhouette man. But I was at my dad's house, right? Something you have to know about my dad, when he talks, when he talks, especially like if he's angry, he spits a lot. Like, he spits a lot, and he's also bald. So keep that in mind. Now, the day goes perfectly fine. Oh my gosh, the day goes by nice, nothing's going on, everything's cute and sweet. In my family, it don't matter if it was summer or if it was school time. You had a certain time you had to go to bed. You had a certain time. It's bedtime, y'all, right? It's time to go to bed. And I just remember seeing my dad sitting in his chair and watching Avatar. So I fell asleep somehow, some way along the way. You could use gain or tie, y'all. Gain or tie. So next thing you know, I wake up and it's pitch black around me, and I'm looking around and I notice that I cannot breathe. So now I'm like grabbing onto my neck, like gasping for air, and I really just cannot breathe, y'all. I'm looking around like to figure out what's going on, and then I kind of like direct my attention to in front of my face, and next thing you know, I see a silhouette of a man. Okay, the man's face was turned this way, and he's just like spitting and talking, and almost immediately I was like, that's my dad. He fit the description of my dad immediately. I'm like, yeah. First thoughts in my head at this point is, why is my dad choking me? Like, what could I have possibly have done for him to be choking me in the middle of the night? At this point in time, I'm screaming for him to get off of me because I cannot breathe, and I feel myself like, starting to faint. So as I'm screaming, I notice that I cannot hear myself, let alone hear him. So I'm trying to tell this man, I can't hear you. Like, sir, I can't hear you. Like, what are you saying? Like, Dad, stop. And I just feel this man, the silhouette of this man's strength around my neck gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and I pass out. So I'm thinking that this is the end for me, and next thing you know, I jolt up, like I'm up, and it's morning time, and my dad is sitting in the same recliner chair that I seen him sitting in last night. So I'm like, immediately, Dad, like, he's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, Dad, why did you choke me last night? Like, what did I do? And he looks at me, he's like, baby, what are you talking about? I said, why did you choke me last night? Like, I was trying to tell you that I couldn't breathe. I didn't do nothing. Like, I'm sorry, but I couldn't, like, I couldn't breathe. And he's like, baby, I wasn't even here last night. Huh? And I swear, y'all, I am not making this up. Like, I swear I am not making this up. Y'all made water slime. Oh my gosh, look, it don't poke or nothing. Like, and it don't bubble or nothing. It just flops. I made water slime, yay! Anyways, I'm trying to come. I'm like, I don't believe this man. And I'm like, what do you mean you weren't here last night? He was like, yeah, baby, I was at work last night. Like, they called me in. Huh? Who called you? What? Huh? My dad worked at, he worked with homeless people, so he would work overnight. And the night that I thought my dad was choking me, it wasn't him. I don't know who it was. And the question that goes through my head to this day is, who was that man and what did I do to him? Yeah. First thoughts that's going through my head is, tell me how I'm supposed to breathe with no air. But look, I made water slime, y'all. Period. Look. Period. It reminds me of the stuff you get at the store and them little canister things. But how I did it was just use the activator and these 2 lotions. That's it. Bye.
Do not listen to this scary story at nighttime or right before you're going to bed. Because I love you so much, I'm giving you this warning because what the fuck? So typically I listen to a lot of Spanish scary stories because I like translating them for you guys. I typically listen to these when my husband's asleep next to me and I'm just like scrolling story through story, right? I will say when I listened to this story, I got full body chills, right? But I was like, okay, cool, I'm saving this. This is gonna be a good ass story, and I just kept going. A lot of the times you guys ask me in my comments like, how do you sleep after reading all these stories? And I'm gonna be honest, I sleep perfectly well. Like typically I'm not scared, and I wasn't scared last night, which is why it's so weird that I had a dream about this fucking story. I guess this story really impacted me more than I thought. So I'm gonna translate the story for you guys, and then I'm gonna tell you the dream that I had at the very end. So there was this girl, she was around 15 or 16 years old, and she lived with her mom. Unfortunately, her mom lost her job and they had no money, so they ended up losing their house as well. So one of the mom's family members tells them that they have a house that they can live in because they didn't want them to be homeless, but unfortunately this house was like away from civilization. This house was in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by like hills and mountains, but since the mom and daughter had nowhere else to go, they accepted the offer and decided to go live in this house. They end up going to the house, and when they get there, they notice the strangest thing ever. Right in front of the door is this big ass tree. Like the tree was so big that when they would try to open the front door, it would be hitting that tree. So the mom thought it was really strange that the tree would be like right in front of the front door. So the people who actually gave them a ride to that house noticed the tree as well, and they told the mom that if she wanted to, they can also help her remove that tree so that it doesn't stop the front door from opening. And she agreed, so they decided to do it then and there. When they removed that tree, on the roots of like where the tree was growing, they see like a skeleton of a baby. The mom says that it looked like maybe someone had buried the baby a very long time ago because the bones of the baby skeleton were just being eaten by the roots of that tree. She said that they didn't end up telling anybody about it. She just, had the tree removed, they saw that, and they just like moved on with their lives. Time passes, and in this house, it's a 2-bedroom home. It's a little small, but it does have a hallway that leads to both of the rooms. Both the mom and the daughter start hearing noises in the hallway, and they realize that it sounds like a little baby. She even said it doesn't sound like an animal, it didn't sound like a kid, there was no like steps walking, it sounded like a baby playing in the hallway. So the mom almost felt guilty because she felt like something had happened there. I mean, they found the baby bones, and she just felt really bad that maybe the baby ghost was there. So she started leaving out baby toys in the hallway. I already have chills. So after leaving the toys in the hallway, the mom says that they would then start hearing this baby playing with those specific toys that were left out for it. She mentions that nothing scary would happen, but she did feel that over time, the baby's energy was growing and growing. So one day, the mom and daughter get into a really big fight. And I mean, they were screaming at each other, like they were going at it, and the daughter ends up going to her room and like slamming the door, and mom also goes to her room and slams the door. So when the mom goes into her room, slams the door, and sits alone, she realizes that maybe she was a little tough on her daughter. Mom felt so bad and so guilty that she's like, I'm gonna go to her room and I'm gonna, apologize, and let's try to talk through it. So the mom goes and she knocks on her daughter's door, and of course the daughter didn't answer because she was pissed. After the daughter not answering her door, the mom still decided to open the door, and she starts off with, look, I really need to talk to you. And then she stays silent. The daughter was laying on her bed and she was like, what? That's when the mom was like, get up and come with me. And the daughter's like, what? And the mom's like, get up and come with me. The daughter's like, I thought you wanted to talk to me. And she goes, shut up, get up and come with me. So once the daughter realizes that something is going on because the mom was really seriously telling her to get up, she gets up. Her mom grabs her by the hand, they leave her bedroom, close her bedroom door, and the mom takes her back to her own room. So the mom explains that when she opened her daughter's door and told her, I need to talk to you, she looks at her daughter that's laying on the bed, and she sees a baby on top of her daughter's chest. She says that the baby was not a normal baby. When the mom was telling her daughter, get up and come with me, that baby would hold on to her daughter even tighter, looking at the mom and smiling at her. Oh my god, look at my heart. I think the reason why I imagine these stories in my head, so I'm seeing this shit like a movie in my brain. Can you imagine? She walked in there feeling so guilty that she got into a fight with her mom, tries to talk to her, and fucking sees a baby on her daughter's chest as she's telling her, get up and let's go. Baby hugs her daughter tighter while looking at her smiling. They left that house that night and never looked back, didn't go back to investigate, didn't want to know what the fuck happened there, because at that point it wasn't just a little innocent baby ghost, because she saw a baby, but it was not a normal looking baby. Now for my dream. So in my dream, I'm laying in bed. Leave it to me to take naps in my dream too. And next to me is one of my exes, because my dream wasn't scary enough. And in my dream, I'm waking up because I'm feeling something crawling up my body. And when this thing finally gets to the very top, I see a scary looking baby with fucking crazy teeth. And you know how like in your dreams you can't fight, it's like slow motion? Well, as soon as I saw that face, my hand was like trying to push it away. I mean, the baby was like biting my hand, and I was like, what do I do? Because I'm moving so slowly. I was pushing that baby towards my ex, who was still asleep, because what the fuck, take him, not me. But this baby wouldn't give up. It kept trying to come at me, and to the point where I'm slowly moving my fucking head away. It doesn't sound as scary, but like it was fucked up in my dream. Okay, so the baby's still crawling, and once it's like face to face to me, I guess it like I got so spooked that I woke myself up. All it had to do was go to my ex, like, why the fuck would you want me? But no, I got really scared. I woke up and I was like, what the fuck was I dreaming about right now? Anyway, I hope you don't have dreams about this story.
This is one of the scariest stories I've ever read. It was posted 10 years ago on Reddit by an account called A Writer Named Williams. It was on the subreddit called Let's Not Meet. The story is called Poker Face. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this very scary story. This happened in Antioch, California. It was around 2 a.m. I was at a friend's house, safe in warm, sheltered suburbia. We were having a lot to drink, chit-chatting, enjoying ourselves, of course. When you're having fun, time hits the fast forward button, and those few minutes turn into an hour. I had too much to drink. My friend has a bit of an abrupt bedtime, so I had to dodge out early, still intoxicated. I felt too shameful thinking I'd be asking too much to stay in his house to sleep off the drunkenness. I suppose he was either too rude or too drunk to consider it himself. Whatever. Sometimes a little inconvenience makes you appreciate everything else. I needed about another hour or so to sober up and drive back. As fast as time passed during my stay, it decided to drastically slow down as soon as I stepped out of his house. It was a cul-de-sac area, a concrete jungle with the stem of the street breaking into a fork. Alongside the road, my car was parked. The only street light that worked was in the middle of the cul-de-sac circle, about 80 yards away. I stumbled towards my car, produced my keys, and felt the metal line up. Opened my door and shifted to the back seat. Because this was a dark, strange, and unfamiliar neighborhood, I took the leftover newspapers and a sweater in my back seat to cover myself up. I was a little scared. I wanted to camouflage myself and not just be some guy awkwardly sitting in his car, waiting for time to pass in order to drive home. I couldn't fall asleep. The uncomfortable feeling of a cheap backseat bed enshrouded in darkness didn't make the chance of slumber easier. It felt too ominous, and of course my mind began to wonder. I thought of worst-case scenarios, like how the police would shine their lights on me through the window, or a drunk driver hitting my car, and... Wait. In the distance, about 100 yards away, I hear footsteps approaching. The gravel scuffed with each step forward, growing in proximity but periodically taking stops. I wondered why until it made sense in my mind. Whoever it was probably looking through cars carefully, with the intent to steal one. I couldn't recall how many cars were on the block, but I counted 3 full stops until he was at my window, breathing. I froze. There was no more than 1 foot between us. The car encapsulated me as I lay hidden beneath backseat clutter, forming myself into an object, trying my hardest to be unnoticeable, unmoving, and simply not there. I see you, said a 40-plus-year-old man in a perverse baby talk. I imagine when you were playing hide and seek and one of your friends tricks you into coming out, he said it in that tone of voice, as if baiting me, like he was questioning whether the clutter in the back seat was just clutter or a person. I didn't want to move or check the window. I remained clutter. Give me an Academy Award. My body reacted by minimizing my breathing so much that I felt paralyzed. I dare not to look. My eyes fixated on the back of the passenger seat. I didn't blink, I didn't move, I didn't breathe. My heart was pounding so hard it shook my body with each throb. He circled around the car. My ears didn't fail me. I heard the steps. I felt like I was part of the car. I could feel him touching the trunk as he carefully pressed down on it, as if to test the alarm, as if to test me. I was in the middle of fight or flight. I couldn't do either without elevating danger. I was frozen and hoping to God he was bluffing. He circled the car again. The door handle to my right jiggled. He was pulling it multiple times. I see you. Same tone, but more agitated and stressed, more convinced that he was trying to make that clutter move, revealing itself to be one of his expectations that it was me. My muscles tensed like a cow before slaughter. That had to be metal against glass. Take a penny right now and tap your window. A crowbar, a knife, a rock, a gun. My eyes fixated on the seat in front of me, never averting my gaze like he was. I was covered enough to where I couldn't see beyond the seat in front of me. I know I couldn't see him, but I can feel his eyes resting on top of me.
My name is Poker Face. What's your name?
The voice changed in a lower, demented and serious tone. My mind forced a visual. It wasn't anything human. I already accepted my death. I was ready to be shot in the head, ready to take a life-changing bullet, multiple knife wounds. Just make the sleep bearable, not excruciating, as you drained me of life. I wouldn't know how to react. My thoughts grew dimmer. I imagined my friend waking up the next morning after a calm night of safe and sound sleep, only to discover my mutilated, defiled, and bloody body hanging outside of my car door. It was then I heard nothing but my own heart. What was this person doing now? Just staring at me in the middle of the night, talking to me, or a messy pile in the back seat? Time froze. The footsteps were being swallowed in the distance. Thank God he left. I waited another hour until the sun showed hints of itself. I jumped in my front seat and bolted out of there, wide-eyed and sober. And that's the end of the story.
Never let a man come over to your house after a first date. And if you used to do that, you're not going to do that after the story time. Let's go. I also forget to mention that it's a true story time. Yeah, let us begin. The story starts off with this young girl. She goes on a first date with this guy. They go out to get dinner, and honestly, he was a green flag all throughout. Like, he was nice to the waitresses. He paid for the bill. Like, no red flags at all. This is why no matter how normal or nice a guy seems to be, you can never trust them too quickly because the story's like this. The dinner goes great, he pays the bill, and then they just go about their day and they go to their own homes. So obviously this is a respectful man, right? Like, he didn't even try to get her to come over and didn't ask to go over to her house yet. So she goes home and then she gets a call from him, and he's basically saying how he can't find his key, his roommate is not answering the phone, and if he could just come over for the time being until either his roommate answers the phone or he finds his key somehow. And she obviously said yes because, once again, no red flags. He comes over, they're having a blast, they're just sitting on the couch, talking, vibing, and then it just gets really late, so she's like, hey, you can sleep on the couch until you figure things out, I'm gonna go to my room. And something told her to lock the door. Obviously, she lives alone, she doesn't normally lock the door, but something, an instinct. A woman's instinct is always right. So she ends up locking the door and then just going to sleep. A couple hours pass, and then she gets a knock on her bedroom door, and it's him asking for a phone charger because his died. Something told her, once again, don't open the door, just tell him where it is. So she does not move, and she says, it's on the kitchen counter, help yourself. And he says thank you, and then he goes about his business, and then she just goes back to bed. Okay, this is where it gets a little for me. A couple minutes go by, and then he comes back and knocks on the door and says, hey, this charger's not working, do you have a charger in your room that I can borrow? Something just raises a flag in her head, hey, something's wrong, why does he want to get into my room so bad? So she calls the police. After she calls the police, she hears the door kind of opening. She hears a bunch of commotion outside.
And then a couple minutes later, the police knock on her bedroom door and say, hey, like, you're safe. He's in custody. Come outside and look at your living room. Guess what she saw? Please, just pause the video. I want you guys to guess first before you actually hear what it is. So she walks out from her bedroom to her living room with the police, and she sees her whole living room fully plastered, and she just sees a box of power tools. So drills, axes, you name it, it was in that power tool box. If she left her room and she didn't use her womanly instincts, you guys, women, we're never wrong. I said what I said and I meant it. If she did not just listen to her instincts, she would have been gone. I'm so scared for women. Like, we're not safe ever, and it's really sad. I really want to know how she felt in that moment. Like, just to be like, whoa, like, I just listened to my gut, and that's the main reason I'm still alive till this day. Like, if you're watching this, I'm so proud of you. And I hope you know that. Moral of the story is a man can be so normal, have the perfect job, and just be a walking green flag and still not be the person that you think he is. So just don't let anyone into your home. Make sure that you guys run a background check first. Okay, I love you guys. Bye.
This is why you should never play rock, paper, scissors with your reflection. So this game originated in China, and it's a game that's usually played with 2 people. You both have to form one of 3 shapes with an outstretched hand. Rock is a fist, paper is a flat hand, and scissors is 2 fingers spread apart. I mean, we all know the rules. We've all played rock, paper, scissors. People have apparently been playing this game since the 1600s, and there is a legend as to why you should never play with your reflection in the mirror. And if you do, you better hope that your reflection keeps playing the same thing that you do. If you sit down and do rock, paper, scissors and choose rock, you know, obviously your reflection is supposed to choose rock too. It's a reflection. If you do paper, it should be mimicking your choice. But if your reflection suddenly chooses a different option and wins, it will attack you with whatever it chooses. So if it's scissors, you better get away from that mirror really quickly. This might sound all silly to you, but apparently you should never challenge your reflection with a game or something will happen.
Get ready with me while I tell you something very scary I went through. Correction, that I went through. Okay, so this story took place in 2016. My parents, they clean offices, and me and my brother, we used to go help them at the time. So it's basically like they go at night when nobody's in the buildings to clean the offices. So I don't want to say exactly where this was, but this building was pretty big. It was a 2-story building, and we would usually separate. So it would be my mom and dad, and then me and my brother. So there was this one specific time where there were some construction workers and they had to go at night too, so nobody's at the building. So me and my brother, we were in an office, and sometimes the bucket where we throw the trash in gets really full, so I would tell my brother, can you go throw the trash, so I could start taking more trash out because it didn't fit anymore. So I noticed my brother was taking a little longer than he should have, and I was like, okay, let me just leave. So I was like, oh, let me just leave. I'm already done with this office, so let me see where he's at. So this is where it gets really freaking creepy. By the time I get to the hallway, my mom and dad and my brother are there. And my brother is telling them that he ran into a construction worker. My brother starts telling my dad how the construction worker stopped him and asked him if he's ever heard noises in the building or if he's ever seen anything. My brother then tells him, yeah, we do hear things sometimes, but we just like ignore it, or we just don't pay much attention to it. Although there were times we did hear things and we got scared. Well, the construction worker starts telling my brother that they're not coming at night anymore. They're getting their stuff and leaving because they saw a little boy. So they saw a little boy dressed in hospital clothes, like a hospital gown, running through the hallway, and a doctor or nurse type looking chasing after them. Yeah, and mind you, this building is not a hospital, not a clinic. It is a call center. So it was a call center upstairs, and downstairs it was a DR Horton. The DR Horton office was where the construction workers were in. So my dad starts saying like there's no way, they just made that up. Start saying they're just trying to scare you, like blah blah blah. So we just like go about the date. We didn't really think much of it. It did scare us, but we were like, what the fuck. So fast forward a couple months later. So we're back in the building, and my dad comes up to us and he looks freaking scared. And we're like, what happened? And he said that he saw so my dad starts telling us that he was in the hallway and that he saw a doctor pushing a patient on like a hospital bed, and they were exiting the building. and that my dad yelled, "Hey!" and that they turned and looked at him directly. The patient looked directly into my dad, and my dad was looking at him, and that quickly they exited the building. And my dad said he ran out of the building, and when he went out there was nothing, like no cars. It was empty. It's just our car there in the building parking lot. So after that, we decided that we did not want to separate, and my dad was like, F that, we're not separating. We literally saw what the construction workers said that they saw, except it wasn't a kid, it was like an older guy. So, well, shortly after that happened, we didn't work there long after that, but now, so a couple months from today, we went to go visit that building, but it's completely abandoned. Like, it's just, there's nothing in it. So I'm just like, but yeah, let me know if you guys believe in ghosts, and let me know if you guys want more scary stories, because I have a lot.
One day, my brother and I were walking to a liquor. To get there, we had to go through an alley. So we're walking through the alley, and then randomly someone throws a rock at us. Like, obviously, we turned around, like, bitch. Literally, no fucking cap, we turn around, and we see a clown looking at us with a hammer in his hand. I thought it was my mom pranking me, so I remember I looked at the clown, and I was like, you're so funny, take off the mask. My brother was like, Sam, what the fuck, stop, like, actually, this is a real clown. I remember I looked at the clown, and then the clown's like, you have 5 seconds to run. Don't even try yelling, no one's gonna hear you. Oh, bitch, we flew. This is the best part. So my brother and I, we start sprinting because we want to get somewhere where people are. And the clown starts chasing us. So I remember the clown chased us into this like vacant house. My brother and I didn't know what to do. So we go into the house and then we start hiding, whatever. Tried calling the cops, no fucking reception. And guess whose house it was? Guess who met up at this house?
When you go home at night, don't turn your lights on immediately after you get in your apartment. Especially if people can see the windows of your apartment from the street. Because if someone's following you home, they're gonna know what apartment you live in. When I got home tonight, I got out of my car and there was a man getting shit out of his car. I had never seen him before this morning when he was in my apartment complex area. And he just gave me bad vibes, but whatever. I got out of my car at night and he tries to make conversation with me about my headlight because it's out right now. I'm like, oh yeah, I know, I just have to get around to it, whatever. I go inside, don't turn the lights on, but I have a feeling to check my Ring camera. He's standing in the street, which is very close to my apartment building, staring at my building. And he did not leave for like 5 minutes. I mean, like halfway through, he left the empty parking spot and hid behind a car, but he waited to see. So now he knows what car I drive and where I live, just not my apartment. So, don't turn your lights on.